things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy June 2nd, 2025. Janet Best is here. She's third, but you're first in our eyes, Janet. Happy birthday once again. Shout out to Benny and Dolan. Where are you watching the Recher podcast from today? Feel free to put it there at the bottom of the screen, and we'll shout you out wherever you're watching from today here on the program. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on the channel. I mean, it's insane. The love and support that we've gotten, and it's only going to get bigger and better from here. Like a couple hundred subscribers just in the last couple of weeks. Man, it's been insane and extremely humbling. So appreciate you guys at all. B.R. Judevo from New Mexico. Dolan, Apollo, Ruskin from the UPS truck. Appreciate you, bro. I don't know if I ever told you, Dolan, and the crew. I used to work at FedEx. I know there was a little bit of a discrepancy between FedEx and UPS, but we always got along when I was working for FedEx. I worked for FedEx Ground. I was a package handler. Pretty funny, too, because the first time I worked there in 2 stints, the overnight shift. It was like 2 to 8:30. The first time I went and I worked there, I had to be like 17, and I worked there, and I was the lowest rated package handler there. I used to go like after playing softball, I used to smoke and drink, and I just went, and I was the worst employee ever, like terrible. People were asking, like, well, it was the worst I ever did. I came back, and it must have been like 9 months later, and I came back, and I was like 18, and I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, and it was pretty crazy because then I was the #1 package handler in the whole building. And the guy came up to me. He's like, bro, what happened to you? He's like, you used to suck at this job. You want to be a manager? You want to go into like management school? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. But it was just, I think I remember the guy's name was Johnny Mott. And he just looked at me. He was like, dude, what happened to you? You sucked at this job. I'll never forget the look on his face. He's like, you're like a different person. It's like, yeah, man, you know, I used to play. So I used to get up. Friday night, I used to go and I play a doubleheader at softball. I'd go home. I'd shower. Your adrenaline's flowing. 30 minutes, an hour, right? Finally sleep, you go. And then I would work till 8:30. And then Saturday morning, I would drive out to Queens and I would play in this league right off the Cross Island Parkway. I was the only white guy in the whole league. I actually won Rookie of the Year because I was the only rookie on my whole team. But I was the only white guy in the whole league. Only guy that didn't speak Spanish. That's kind of like the running theme for me in my softball career. But I remember one time I was driving on the Cross Island Parkway and I was in the left lane and I was like groggy, man. I fell asleep at the wheel and I like dozed off in the left lane and woke up in the right lane. Still to this day, like that pit that I had in my stomach, that'll never go away. It's crazy. Every single time I drive on the Cross Island Parkway, I think about that. It is, listen, if you're tired anywhere, like go sleep. Go sleep. Even if you're going to be late, like it's not worth it. And I'm very lucky to be here today because I could have lost my life. I'm just lucky that I left at the time that I did, or else I would have gotten into a huge car accident, and who knows if I would have ever woke up. So just wild. So a lot of respect for our FedEx and our FedEx and our UPS drivers. We love you guys. David Terry, 28 years of FedEx, 3 to go. Good for you, brother. 21 of UPS, forever to go. Keep on rolling, guys. I appreciate you very, very much. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and then like and subscribe on YouTube as well. What a show on this Monday that we have for you guys today. It's always something. It is always something. We're going to talk about our Rays, obviously, here in a minute. Ian Beckles joins us for his weekly visit at 12:30. I want to talk to him about football, but talk about media, big misconceptions, a little bit more of a laid-back approach rather than just anything specific today when it comes to the Bucs. At 1 o'clock, I don't know if you guys heard this news. If you follow me on social, you definitely saw it. KJ Sales, former USF football standout, he is now going to be coaching with the Los Angeles Chargers. I could not be more happy for this young man, the future mayor of Tampa, Florida. Just so happy for him. At 1:30 today, Coach Lyndon Coleman of Pasco, Hernando, our local JUCO D2 baseball team that won the World Series over the weekend. I mean, come on. It's the Bay Area, right? They got a bunch of guys that went to high school here in the Tampa Bay area. So Coach Coleman, they were traveling all day yesterday. They didn't get in until very, very late. I'm so appreciative that Coach could join me on the program. He's going to join me here. I can't wait. I can't wait. And then our quick hits. There's a lot to get into. The USF Hall of Fame class of 2025 was announced today, led by guys like Jim Levitt and Amir Abdur-Rahim. I mean, just all class. So we're going to try to champion to get Michael Kelly on with us this week. Also, a lot of great things here in the Bay Area. Oh, my God. Jac Caglianone called up. Also, the University of Tampa baseball team. And listen, we'll discuss that later on in the week, depending if they keep on winning. But UT just keeps on winning. Just keeps on winning. In their first game in the D2 World Series in Cary, North Carolina, they won 20-3 over Felician. 20-3? Yeah. They played Northwest Nazarene at 6 p.m. today. And again, go to ncaa.com. You can watch it there. That's what I do. And Nico Saladino with a couple of home runs. Cole Russo with an Oppo Taco line drive. Cole Russo hits these crazy-ass home runs that you never see anybody else hit. It looks like he's so late on it, and he hits like a line drive right down the line, and it goes over the fence. It's great to see our Tampa guys doing well. Shout out to Carlos Becerra, 30 years at the post office. Salute you, my friends. I know how hard that is. One of my best friends, Rob, he is a letter carrier up there on Long Island. And my buddy Rob, who is like been my best friend for a very, very long time, he got to meet his idol. Rob was the goalie growing up, and he got to meet Mike Richter over the weekend. And that was always his favorite player growing up. Again, Rob was a goalie. And it just reminded me, and I just want to remind you all out there, if you ever get a chance to go to a game or spend that extra money to meet your favorite player, like just do it. You only live once. And Rob is 38 going on 39 and lovely girlfriend, have a beautiful house, beautiful life together. But the look on his face when he got to take a picture with Mike Richter, like, there's just nothing like that. It's incomparable. So people have always asked me, and I know and I say that, and I don't say it from like a perspective, and I know how blessed I've been to be able to go to all these games, and a lot of that was through work, right? But I'm talking about like when I go see Manchester United play, like I spend my money, right? My hard-earned money to go watch those games. If you have just any type of opportunity to be able to go to watch your favorite team, to go see your favorite player, to scratch something off the bucket list, just do it. You'll make that money back. You'll find a way. You're not going to go bankrupt for going on one trip. Now, if you go on a ton, yeah, that could be an issue. But if you just go on one of these trips to go to see your favorite team or your favorite player or your big time event, just go do it. Spend the money, because when you're lying on your deathbed, you're not going to be thinking about what your bank account is looking like. You're going to be thinking about those memories and those trips that you took. Like, that's the stuff that you take with you. So, yeah, go on out and do that. Also, some news here from the Tampa Bay area. I wanted to get to this, and we'll talk about Rays here in a second, but I wanted to share this news with you. Anthony Cirelli comes in third place when it comes to voting for the Selke Trophy. And I'll share with you. Greg Wyshynski just put this out there, so I want to share with you guys. Where is it here? There we go. Bang, bang, boom. There you go. Alexander Barkov wins. I mean, not much of a surprise there, right? Sam Reinhart second. A lot of times I look at the situation like this. I go, two players in the same team, really? But when it's Florida and it's both of those guys, and we know how defensively responsible both of them are. I mean, this is the Barkov Award as we speak. It was the Kopitar Award, the Bergeron Award, the Crosby Award. I mean, Alexander Barkov, he's that guy right now. So you just kind of tip your hat and you give credit where credit is due. But look how close Anthony Cirelli was to second place for Sammy Reinhart. I love that. I love to see that Tony is in third, getting the national recognition that he deserves, and also see Brandon Hagel there at ninth. So 2 guys in the top 10. That means a lot for our Tampa Bay Lightning. And then also Austin Matthews coming in 14th. Remember last year he came in third? Everybody's telling me how great Austin Matthews was defensively, and I think everybody just kind of got the word out like, let's stop with this. Let's stop with this. Come on. You look at these names on the list. Like, look at these guys, right? Like Eichel, okay. I mean, Heishier, yes, 100%. Eichel, Draisaitl, Marner, okay. I know he kills a lot of penalties. Kopitar, of course. Hagel, of course. Adam Lowry. If you don't know Adam Lowry, captain of the Winnipeg Jets, yes, no doubt about it. No doubt. Jordan Stahl, Seth Jarvis, Nick Suzuki. Like, these guys all put an onus on the defensive side of the game. So I have no issues with them whatsoever. What I do have issues with, what I have had issues with, is the play of our Tampa Bay Rays in Houston. And I'm not going to count the game on Thursday night. I am going to count the 3 games that they had since they sent Chandler Simpson down to AAA Durham. Now, I came out with my thoughts on the whole thing with him being sent down. And some people look at it and they go, well, he's got room to grow and he needs to make sure that he gets a bunch of reps in AAA, and he's just got to keep working. And Mangum gives him a better option. Christopher Morel doesn't have any options. They don't want to give up on the Isaac Paredes deal. This team operates analytically sometimes to the point of it's just paralysis. These guys, you're paralyzed by making sure that you have to just do this just because the numbers say so. The deal or the decision to send Chandler Simpson down is a decision that goes beyond the analytics, and it's tough for people to really compartmentalize that whole thing. And I got to be honest with you guys. You have to be – what have I told you guys listening to the show here? Be very weary of people that only talk about a sport when they bring up the 3 things, right? When they bring up the standings, when they bring up the statistics, and when they bring up the schedule. If those are the 3 things that they bring up all the time, they probably don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? The other thing you have to be weary about is you have to be very weary about people that try to use a statistic or an analytic or an algorithm to explain a decision for a team, and they don't use the human impact. There is something to be said about the effect of an athlete. Like, so Chandler Simpson's impact, right? It goes beyond the numbers, right? Everybody's always going to look, well, analytically this, Fangraph says this, and his numbers against lefties are this. Baseball, more than any other sport, and this is why this is hurting the sport. Probably one of the biggest things that people just, when they talk about, they don't know how to explain it. And I'm going to do it right now. You have so many of these number crunchers, guys that can't even throw a baseball right now, that sit there and they go on Baseball Reference and they go on Fangraphs and they go on all these things and they try to compute these numbers to make their argument instead of using their eyes, instead of understanding that there are intangible factors that attribute to success on a baseball field. Baseball has become paralyzed with numbers. Paralyzed. Numbers used to be one of the great things about baseball. When you looked on the back of a baseball card and you compared guys' home runs and averages and all these different things, that used to be a great part of baseball because it was a thing that you look back at. Oh, how cool is that? Yeah, more home runs than this guy. It's always going to be a numbers game. I understand that. And I know Benny's saying if you have analytics in baseball and not use them, why have them? Listen, it makes sense to use analytics. And we had this talk with Joe Madden a couple of weeks ago. And he and I agree wholeheartedly, is that if you have the analytics to set your defense, right? If you know that a guy pulls the baseball in the 3-4 hole 78% of the time, yeah, move the guy in that direction. 100%. If you don't use them, you're an idiot. But you can't be a slave to the numbers. You can't follow a script. Baseball does not go by a script. It doesn't. That's a big reason why people are still pissed off about the Kevin Cash thing with Blake Snell. It's something that's going to live with him forever. There's certain decisions that live with managers and coaches and players and front office members that they never, ever escape from. Ever. Chris Webber still calling the timeout when he didn't have any in Michigan. That's going to live with him forever. Jason Light, who is one of the best general managers in all of sports, his decision to draft Roberto Aguayo is going to live with him forever. It doesn't mean that's going to define him, but it's something that you have to live with. People are still going to bring up. Kevin Cash is going to have to live, and if he wins a World Series one day, yeah, that noise will get a little bit, it'll go down a little bit. It'll decrease. But when you look at a guy like Chandler Simpson, and I'm going to tell you this because I coached the game, because I played the game, obviously not at the major league level, but you don't have to play it at that level to understand certain things about baseball. And you can tell when you look at social media and a lot of people making these arguments, when's the last time they've been on a baseball field, playing a game that means something, coaching a game that means something, with some type of stakes, regardless of the level? Chandler Simpson is a guy that affects the game, and it goes deeper than the numbers. When you're a team knowing that if it's a one-run ball game, Chandler Simpson could be the guy that if he's not in the starting lineup, he could come off of the bench. That may affect how you deploy your pitching staff. No doubt about it. If you're a defense that knows that Chandler Simpson is coming up to the plate, you cannot play your base defense because even on a routine ground ball, that guy could beat it out. Your pitchers, if Chandler Simpson is on base, we saw it in game 1 of this series. It affects how you attack the guy in the batter's box. You're quicker to the plate. You might leave the ball up. What number do you compute to register that being an issue? You can't. It's somebody else's statistic. If Chandler Simpson is on first and the pitcher is so concerned with him swiping a bag and the pitcher leaves the ball up because he's trying to be quick to the plate and that guy hits a home run or that guy hits an extra base hit, yeah, if Chandler scores, he may get a run. But how much of an impact is his presence on the base paths? How can you really compute that with a number? You can't. What about a team? What about offensively? You're in the dugout and you know that Chandler Simpson is a guy that can really manufacture a run out of absolutely nowhere. It's different, man. You have a different vibe in the dugout. And when he does things on the field, it sends a jolt of energy through the clubhouse. When you see somebody do something so athletic that that not many people in the game can do it, it changes your mindset. It's a game of failure. Baseball lives within the margins. I can tell you, I've seen it firsthand where a kid that I had a kid who had a terrible attitude, terrible. And people were worried about him being on my team because he was one of those guys. And I never, ever sacrificed the team morale and the chemistry for a kid that had a bad attitude or parents that did not contribute to the family atmosphere. Now, this kid had really good parents. They were a little abrasive, but listen, I thought I could handle him. I thought I could handle his attitude. And I remember one game we were playing in Canal Park in Oldsmar, and this kid who used to get so upset, he would bang his cleats when he would strike out. This kid grounded out to second with a runner on second and nobody out. But the kid got into a situation where he stayed back on the ball and he hit the ball to second base and he moved the guy to third. So now we can score the runner from third without the benefit of a hit. But that kid came back to the dugout and he was clapping because he knew he did something good. He knew he did something to contribute to the success of the team. In the book, he's 0 for 1 with a ground out. If you just look at the statistics, you numbnuts that's sitting in the corner office right now, you're like, 0 for 1 ground out. That guy didn't do shit this game. No, not at all. That's not how it goes. And when that kid came back in the dugout, every single player on our team gave him a high five. There's probably fewer times in my life I've ever been more proud of a human being. To see the growth. The kid was 11 years old, and he went from a freaking kid that people were worried that would be a poison pill for our team that ended up winning the World Series. A kid that completely changed at 11. That's operating within the margins. That is an example that baseball is one of those games where emotions have a lot to do with it. Ask Derek Jeter what he thinks about analytics. You know what he says? He says, what statistic measures your heartbeat? Because you get a guy in the box and he's thinking about something completely different. You got a guy in the box and his head is somewhere else. It's his wife. It's his kid. He's having a bad day. He's 0 for 3. You don't know that. Statistics don't show you that. If you've ever competed at any level, you know that when somebody does something incredibly athletic, it gives you a boost. You could be feeling sorry for yourself. You could be 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. You're in your own head. You don't know what the hell's going on. Then you see Chandler Simpson steal second, steal third, and then come home to score on a bad throw. And then you can't do anything else help but laugh. And then you look at the situation going, I'm 0 for 2, bro. What? I got nothing to lose. How do I feel bad when that guy's on my team? That change in the attitude that Chandler Simpson gives you because he does something that is done so few and far between in the game of baseball. There's not a number to compute that. So when you sit there and you're telling me about these bullshit numbers, well, this is the reason why they sent him down and his numbers against this guy and he's going to do this in the middle. No, it's deeper than that. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you because nobody has the balls to say anything about this. Is Chandler Simpson going to be a guy that's an everyday outfielder that is going to be a 300 hitter for this team? I don't think so. He is the next coming of a Joey Gathright, of a Billy Hamilton, of these guys that are really, really fast. Look at his swing. He's the guy that slaps the ball and puts it in play. You're not going down to the minor leagues and working on that kid's swing. He hits unlike anybody else in the Rays organization. Is he going to be a guy that is going to be a 10 to 15-year major leaguer? The chances are probably not swinging like that. Accentuate his strengths. He's probably going to be a 4th outfielder. He's probably going to be a guy that you take off the bench or come off the bench and be a factor on the base paths. Going down to the minor leagues, oh, get him more reps in the outfield. Okay, fine. Why can't he do that with the big club? Why can't he be out there? I don't understand, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. You're acting like this guy playing 4 or 5 of the games of the week with the big club and being able to help you on the base paths, that it's more important for his development. Bro, newsflash, he's not going to get that much better in the minor leagues. I don't say that about everybody. But just looking at the way he plays the game, it's not the same. He's not going to go down there and come up and start swinging the bat like freaking Ken Griffey Jr. It's not going to happen. But everybody wants to look at their phone and look up freaking stupid-ass statistics and try to compute that and act like that's the reason. Oh, here we go. Look, he bats 314, 350. Pay attention. I even say pay attention. These people don't know what they're looking at. Also, let's see. And also keeping Christopher Morel, right? I mean, what are we doing here? Why? Why are we keeping Christopher Morel? I don't understand. Oh, okay. Well, you're keeping him because he's good against lefties. No, you're not. Go check the statistics for all those people that are enslaved to the stats. Guess who has a better average against lefties than Christopher Morel? Chandler Simpson, a left-handed batter. The only reason why Christopher Morel is still on this team is because the Rays don't want to cut their losses and admit that they screwed up in the Isaac Paredes deal. It's what it is. The Rays need to kick their ego to the side and get rid of Christopher Morel. Sorry, he's not doing the job. He gives you nothing. Nothing. Nothing offensively, nothing defensively. Nada. Zip, zilch, nothing. Sorry, bro. Just the way it goes. And you're going to send Chandler Simpson down. I hope there's not a long-term impact. It's wild, man. It's wild. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you're so stuck on the freaking analytics. You're so stuck on it. You can't do that. And everybody's like, oh, they've been so, look at how successful they've been. As great, in spite of. The Rays are getting farther and farther away from 2020 in the World Series. They've been to the World Series, and they've lost. Everybody always goes back to the Moneyball thing with the Oakland A's. They never even made it to the World Series in Oakland. The teams that win with talent. You need as many talented players as possible because attrition, health issues are going to happen. And you're sending down a guy that could have helped you win 2 games against Houston. Listen, you go into a place like Houston and you split a series against a team, and it doesn't feel good. There's a lot of people that don't feel good about the situation. They don't. And for people out there saying, oh, DFA Morel, see, who cares? If you DFA a guy and you get rid of him and then he plays well for another team after you give him chance after chance after chance, what are you going to do? Who cares? It didn't happen under your watch. It didn't happen with your coaching staff or your team. Who cares what he does? He's taking up a roster spot. And it drives me crazy when we talk about sports, and baseball's the worst one. And again, I said it before and I'll say it again. This is one of the big reasons why people look at baseball and they're just like, it's not the same. It's not the same. Joe Madden came on this show 3 weeks ago and said, use those analytics before the game to get your team right. But once you're in the game, you got to trust your eyes. You got to trust your gut. And if you've never been around any type of athletic event, any sport, man, I really don't put a lot of stock into what you're saying about success, about good players. We're going to ask Ian about this in a second when he joins us. When you're sitting there and you try to rattle off numbers to me, well, it's almost like fantasy baseball players and fantasy football players thinking that they know the game better than people that played the game, better than people that coach the game, better than people that have been around the game. You're talking about people that they're afraid to tackle somebody, that can't throw a baseball, that haven't been in the trenches, that haven't been in games, that haven't coached 5 games in a day in 100-degree temperature, that haven't traveled across the country and played or coached and been around the game. You're listening to people that just go and they click and they type in a number and they type in a name. Those are the people that you're going to listen to? Numbers and statistics are like bikinis. They show certain things. They don't show everything. Be careful who you get your information from. We are so enslaved to the numbers and the analytics when it comes to sports, and I think it's hurting certain aspects of the games that we grew up loving. And no sport gets hurt more than baseball. I can't tell you how many times I was in the Rays press box and I'm having conversations with people, and the people that were disagreeing with me were the people that never picked up a baseball, and the people that were agreeing with me were the guys that played the game. That made me feel good about myself and my perspective, but it also made me very worried because those people held power, the people that don't pick up a baseball, and people listen to them. No bueno. Let's bring him in for his weekly visit to the program. It's the one and only Ian Beckles. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, brother?
I know you were listening to what I was just saying. How scary is that, man? Because I know you and I have talked about this before. And, the Rays send down Chandler Simpson over the weekend. And, people are like, oh, well, his numbers are this or numbers are that. You told me a story about your guy, Curtis Buckley, right? And how he would, I'm going to go lay this guy out. And he laid this guy out. There's something to be said about how a player can give energy and life to a team that you can't quantify with a number, right? When you see and I always look at it like guys that have like superhuman strength or speed, but I also look at it as when you see an offensive lineman score a touchdown, right? When you see Vita Vea score a touchdown, or when you saw Mike Evans, this is different, but when Mike Evans got that record, like that type of stuff, that type of good vibes, that kind of stuff you can't quantify with a number. How tough is that when you have a conversation with somebody knowing damn well they only think they know the sport because of fantasy football, and they try to tell you about things that they clearly haven't experienced firsthand?
Well, it doesn't happen to me too often, to be honest with you, because I'll squash that real quick. All right, I don't want to hear a fantasy guy talk to me about football. Listen, you could know a lot of football and not have played the game. That's a fact, okay?
Right.
But there's certain things you got to concede to people that have played. When you talk about the Rays and the Rays moves, the unfortunate part is I don't think you could use common sense for the Rays. The Rays have done stuff throughout their whole existence that doesn't make sense. They do moves for money. And I don't know how the hell you can succeed ultimately by doing that. They've done pretty good, despite. But the Rays are the one organization you can look at and say, well, they're not going to send a guy down if he can help. That's not true. I mean, Throughout the years, they send people down just because it made financial sense. So, I mean, that's the way it is with the Rays. And that's the way it's been. And it's not going to trip me out.
No, but it definitely alienates people. Right. I mean, I've always said with baseball, the length of the game or the pace of the game or it's just not as popular as it once was. I mean, doing things like that, it's not good. Like, forget about baseball. I'm just talking about the Rays specifically. Beck, you were on the air for many, many years. And there's just so many times like it's exhausting. I mean, you said it about the stadium, like wake me up when there's real stadium discussion, because you could talk about it every day. But it's just like it's exhausting talking about the Rays because everything comes with a caveat. Everything comes with an explanation. And who wants to live life like that? Like we live down here for convenience. Your life is all about convenience, making things easy. You don't want to walk to these places. You want to be inconvenienced. You don't want to be in big crowds. You don't want to, be uncomfortable when you're sitting watching something. Everything for you is about comfort. And when you deal with a team where it's constantly like they have to explain themselves, like eventually people are going to tune you out, right? I mean, I feel bad for the fan base, but I don't feel bad for the Rays. They do it to themselves.
I don't know if the Rays care if anybody's in the stands. I can say that with a straight face. They don't make moves to put people in the stands. I mean, I don't think they ever have. How are you going to trade Randy Rosarena? Why?
Right.
Like, why? What did we get for around? I don't know what we got, but it wasn't Randy Rosarena. You got a whole side of a stadium waiting to hit for a guy to hit a home run, and you're just gonna get rid of the guy. He doesn't want to leave. Like those are the kind of things where you look back and you gotta question the motives of this organization, because I've never understood it.
It's hard to, it's almost like they make it hard for them to support them. You know what I mean? Because it's like.
It's impossible.
I mean, our buddy Evan Klosky from Channel 10, he goes, Jay, the Rays have put the media in this town in such an unenviable position because you regurgitate a lot of the things they tell you, and then you just wind up with egg on your face. And it obviously starts at the top with Stu Sternberg. Well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And then it doesn't happen. and we're the people that disseminate the information, then people look at us like we're lying. And it's like, we're not lying. We're only just passing along the information, that we're getting. It looks like the Tampa Bay Lightning just tweeted out a picture of a paper and a pen and a dolly. It looks like Yanni Gourde might re-sign with the team after coming in the middle of the season via trade from Seattle. I mean, there's a guy right there, right? Ian, when we talk about Yanni Gourde and, looking at the Lightning, he's a guy that when you look at statistics, I mean, he's not going to knock your socks off, but he's a guy that's yay big and he plays like his hair's on fire. That's what worries me. Who are certain players that you played with in your day where the statistics may not have matched the output, but they made a big impact on your team?
Well, I would say majority of offensive linemen in general, because once again, you don't really hear our names, okay? And I know as well as anybody else or better than anybody else, people love to put stock in a running back. Not I, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you got a great running back behind a shitty line, that ain't squat. If you have an average running back behind a great line, you're going to rush for some yards. And that's the long and short of it. Running backs don't last. The running back's only as good as their line. And you need, and we've been on the air before, and people were talking about, we get rid of Will Golston. That was 8 years ago, Jay. Will Golston is still here, and he's still contributing as that grimy dude. So you need some grimy cats, okay? You need some dudes that don't get a lot of statistics, but you put them in there. Maybe he's a little meaner than everybody else. You need those guys to kind of balance things out. Like when you look at guys like Tristan Wirfs, okay? I don't know if there's been a better Buccaneer ever, more talented. He's not a mean guy, though. You kind of need a little attitude to go along with Tristan Wirfs. Like Paul Gruber and Tony Mayberry and Ian Beckles, we all played 7 years together, all right? I think we were all effective in different ways. We couldn't be further from each other playing-wise, mentality-wise, leadership-wise. I think we're all leaders in different ways, but all of our games were different. So when you talk about, as I get older, I realize that the word leadership is not about talking. It's not. It's about Monday film. That's it.
Well, you've told me there's a difference between saying you're a leader and actually being a leader, right? Because people can say they're a leader all they want, and it is official now. Yanni Gourde signs to a 6-year deal with the Lightning worth $2.3 million. That's a hey, they ain't gonna really hurt us, but you can stay for the long term. Yanni, obviously 33 years old, a wife, 2 young kids. He just wants security. I mean, after living in Seattle for a couple of years, Beck, I mean, you're going from Seattle back to Tampa Bay. He was probably like, yeah, I don't care what it is, man. I'm definitely signing here. That's a big factor, isn't it? I mean, living in the Bay Area compared to, I mean, you played for Philly for a couple of years. I'm sure you couldn't get back to Tampa quick enough.
Well, I never really left Tampa, to be honest with you. During the season, I was in Philly, but when the season was over, I was on the I was right back to Tampa. And I remember my coach calling, "How come you're not here?" I go, "Because it's Philadelphia, bro. I'm not doing that." And when you talk about the Rays and what the Rays do and don't do to fill gaps, does anybody fill gaps better than the Lightning? I mean, the Lightning will bring in old school dudes they know are good in the locker room. That's a 2-year deal. That's not a 6-year deal. That's a 2-year deal. He's not going to be playing for 6 years, probably. Right. You're just bringing a guy in that wants to be here, that they know is going to be fit in that locker room and not cause a ruckus at all, and knows the system, knows the attitude of how people play here. So I don't know if the Lightning aren't as good as I've seen any organization to do it. They're fantastic at it.
It's like easy though, right? Like you do moves like this, and yes, it makes your team better because you're not doing it for charity, right? The guy needs to be able to come in and to perform. At the end of the day, it's a results oriented business, but there's something to be said about bringing a guy back that excites the fan base, right? That brings him in, and his name gets announced, and he may not get as loud of a applause as our guy Nigel Kerwin, but who does, right? I mean, but Yanni Gourde gets the love, and I think that's why people endear themselves to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're not, they don't think twice about spending their money, going to Amalie Arena because it ain't getting cheaper. I mean, shit, it's hard to afford anything nowadays in this country. It's crazy. But people don't bat an eye when they spend money on the Lightning because they know they're going to do and they're going to make deals like this. I don't know if Hassan Reddick's been at camp. I know you've talked about this a lot, whether it's on our podcast, this podcast, or with Pat and Aaron. Is there any point during voluntary OTAs, and I know he wasn't there early, does it change at all for the entire thing? Like if he doesn't show up at all the voluntary OTAs, does that change your mind at all, or is it the same regardless if he shows up or not?
It doesn't change my mind. Like
Okay.
I don't know what the relationship is with him and his coach. I don't know the dialogue that he's had with his coach. Maybe when they signed him, he was like, I'm not coming to those camps. And they were like, whatever, dude, it don't matter. I don't know, okay? But I do know this. In August, September, all the way to January, this camp won't matter. What do you think you're going to learn in this camp? You know, you just get, is it better to be at the camp? Sure. I mean, you're a teammate, you're with your teammate, you're spending some time with your teammates, cool. But once training camp starts and he can pass rush, the rest of it is not going to matter. Look, you don't have to be a good person to be a good pass rusher. You don't have to be a good leader to be a pass rusher. Just put the quarterback on his back. He's not really been that leader type guy. And listen, There's been was Lawrence Taylor a leader off the field? I don't think so. But when that freaking film went on, though, I'll take me one LT and I'll give you 6 of my guys, because once again, it's not leadership. It's being a son of a bitch on Sunday and Monday when we're watching that film, and that's it.
I want to ask you about the Giants have done a certain thing where they're bringing in a lot of former players to talk to their team. And the reason why I bring it up is because I saw Lawrence Taylor go in there, and it was a really good thing of, going in there and playing with pride, and they're having all these old Giants come in and be able to talk to the team, Eli Manning. What does that do for a team when you have, maybe you're trying to find yourself, is it different based on the team? Like when you bring in a bunch, because at the end of the day, you got to go out and perform. Again, it's a results oriented business, but I mean, what kind of impact do you think that has on a team that's trying to find its identity? Because the Giants are a team that's been so futile for the last couple of years, but there's talent there. They got neighbors. They got Dexter Lawrence. It's rare for a team to be as bad as they have, to have Pro Bowlers and even all pro guys, like guys that are top at their position. Can that make a difference? Like what kind of impact does that have on a team? Yeah, it may not have it on a veteran team that's already good. Like, veterans going in to talk to the Chiefs and Eagles. I don't know what that'll do, but for a team that's trying to find its way, what kind of impact can that have at this time of the year?
Once again, listen, I've never been a rah-rah guy, Jay.
I know. That's why I ask. I ask.
I'm not a rah-rah guy. So if Lawrence Taylor gives me an inspirational speech, in May, that's cool. I mean, I would like to listen to Lawrence Taylor, what he has to say.
Right.
But once again, when August and all those other months come, Lawrence ain't going to be there. And for me, I was on that Jets team at the end of my career that had like Keyshawn Johnson and Wayne Corbett and Vinny Testaverde and all these old school cats, Brian Cox. Did we need an old school guy to come and talk to you about winning? Listen, if you need somebody to talk to your team about winning tradition and winning, I think you have the wrong guys. Because Lawrence Taylor is not going to help them play. Lawrence Taylor was a bad son of a bitch that didn't need anybody to hype him up. And if you need a bunch of people to hype you up, you're not the right people. And those names that you mentioned that are very talented people, every NFL team has a lot of talented players.
Right.
But the names that you mentioned, what do they know about winning in the NFL? A lot of them don't yet. And that's what they're trying to develop. But Lawrence Taylor's not going to help them do that. No,
unless he suits up. And you get him some... Well. Hey, you never give him some of that good. He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Looking at this Buccaneers team, obviously still undergoing another open day to the media tomorrow when they're looking at voluntary OTAs. Is there anything that you look at this team and you say, this is what kind of worries me a little bit? There's a lot of things to be optimistic. There's some good players when you're looking at this club, and, you're getting Baker back. He's there. They invested a lot of pieces into the pass rush. But from your perspective, obviously, because you have a different look at it than other people, is there anything that you're really keeping an eye on going into the preseason and training camp?
Well, if you're looking at maybe liabilities wise,
Hmm.
I would start with pass rush, okay?
Yeah.
Because I thought we did everything else okay last year. We could play better in the secondary, but that comes with pass rush. We could stop the run better, but I've seen the Bucks do that in the past. Um, so to me, it comes down to pass rush. If they could figure out a way to rush the passer like they have in the past, and I wouldn't say last year, I think they'll compete. Offensively, I'm not really scared of a lot because I think this team is
Yeah.
going to run the football. And I think this team has a quarterback that's a leader. If we stay healthy at some of the key positions, I think we're going to be all right offensively if we could stop people. But that all depends on that pass rush. If you don't have a pass rush, you better be pretty darn good at stopping the run. That's for sure.
What do you make of a guy like Rashad White putting on his Instagram that it's like one last ride? And it seems like he's kind of in his mind letting or not in his mind, but like he's kind of letting everybody know like this is probably it for me here in Tampa Bay.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, he probably, the writing's on the wall, but this is the football. This is the NFL. You know what can
Hmm.
happen? Yeah, Bucky could pull a hamstring in training camp. Like,
Yep.
but you think Bucky's going to start 16 games? I bet your house that Bucky starts 17 games this year. I would bet my house on any running back. So Rashad is going to play a part in this Buccaneers season, no doubt about it to me. So if Rashad isn't going to start here, listen, Rashad's not going to make $10 million next year. If he doesn't start here, he still might sign a contract to be a backup because they know how
Yeah.
valuable he is. Or there's 31 other teams out there. So him saying like this may be it for me, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't.
Yeah, and I think all those people out there that are saying like, "Oh, hey, they need to be careful of, they should trade him." I'm like, "No, I don't think you should trade him because you can never have enough good players, and you are one Bucky." And that's the one thing that worried me about this season that not enough people are talking about. Bucky Irving had 3 different injuries last year, right? Where he had a foot, he had a knee, and I think he had his back injury. Like Bucky's not a big guy, and he runs very hard. And while that endears you to a lot of people, and people love that kind of, that gumption and that like, hey, it's the same thing you get worried about with Baker Mayfield, right? Like, don't take those hits, bro. Get out of bounds. Like, it's not about, out here trying to be the toughest football player. That's not your goal. Your goal is to try to stay healthy and help this team win. Does Bucky, do you think he needs to change his running style a little bit to be a little bit more intelligent? Because, that's one thing you and I have always said about a guy like Russell Wilson compared to a guy like Josh Allen. You and I talked, we were watching, I'm sure you remember this. This is when you were on the other side of the wall. We were watching I think it was week 1, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Remember that game? We were watching and Josh Allen is this guy's like taking hits and you're yelling at the screen going, "It's week 1. What the hell are you doing?" Like,
Seriously.
does Bucky need to be a little bit smarter going into year 2 to take care of his body a little more?
Well, you could be smarter. I don't really know if that's even possible, Jay. I
Right.
mean, I think you run a certain way. I used to play running back in the way. You say Ian run out of bounds. I ain't running out of bounds. It's not
Right.
happening. So I learned this from the late great Reggie Cobb. My brother, rest in peace. Uh, I remember Von Dunbar, who was from Indiana. He came in the league. He was running for the Saints, and I watched one game, and I was like, "Man, you see my boy Vaughn running?" And Reggie looked at me, and goes, "Enjoy it while you can." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The dude, he's taking too many hits." And from that point on, I watched. When Cadillac Williams was great for 3 games, I remember saying, "Enjoy it, because it's not gonna last, because he's
Right.
catching blows in the middle of the field." Okay, not only is Bucky not big, I heard Bucky's small. Okay, I've not seen him in person, but I heard he's a little bitty, like almost maybe not Warwick Dunn small, but I heard he's a little bitty dude. And with 3 different injuries last year, had to come out of one game when he had a lot of totes. It's not a knock on him, but to depend on a running back that's undersized, there's only a couple guys, Henry and Saquon.
Yeah.
That's it. Everybody else are names, and you better stack the names up because no other names could just take the brunt of the work
Right.
except for those 2 names I mentioned. So Bucky's a great change-up guy. Um, he's gonna be the guy, and we're gonna find out how his total game is because we never really got a chance to see it last year. We got a chance to see him come in, Rashad, one's in, one's out. But when you're in there and third down and you got to block all the time, your game is way, way different. You talked the other day, players not playing a whole lot, then all of a sudden they play a lot, their games change. Boy, running back's a position where if you're getting 20 carries instead of 10 carries, that equation's way different.
No doubt about it. Beck, what's going on at the Dignitary Cafe this week, brother?
Same old, brother. We weathering the storms.
Crazy weather, huh?
I went to Burlington Coat Factory today and walked out, and I was in ankle deep of water. So I'm just trying to get myself dry. But we're hanging out here at Dignitary and sipping on that kava and keeping it low, man. You know how we do it.
You got that right. Beckles and Recher podcast Wednesdays at 3:30, 4 o'clock, depending on what we got. Just make sure you tune in because it's a lot of good discussion. I had a bunch of people reach out to me over the last week. Really happy with the topics that we're talking about because we talk about things nobody else has the balls to talk about. We'll talk about how race, religion, and culture kind of interweave with sports, and it's a spirited conversation. And I love that. I was explaining to somebody the other night, like, you and I speak about things that people really are afraid to talk about because they don't want to get canceled. And it's all love at the end of the day, because you and I, we really try to stretch the conversation to every boundary of, liberal, conservative, sports, politics, like to every aspect to give everybody a voice, because nowadays people get so damn offended instead of just listening to people from different viewpoints. And I think that's part of the way our country can get better, if we can understand where people are coming from, even if it's not something that we agree with. So make sure you check it.
There's always two sides, Jay, of everything. Yeah. And sometimes it's good to hear both sides. And for myself, sometimes you say things, I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Yeah. So I think if you have that relationship, it sure helps, because our country is void of being able to communicate. And I think communication is a good thing.
No doubt about it. Ian_Beckles on Instagram. Go check out the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Appreciate you, brother. See you on Wednesday.
Deuces.
One love, the one and only Ian Beckles. You can't beat that. All right, let's talk about boom, boom, boom. All right, let's talk about it. Yanni Gourde, 6-year deal, $2.33 million average annual value. Listen, I got to be completely honest with you. I love this move for the Lightning, but it also comes with a little bit of a trepidation because that's a long deal. 6 years. 6 years. He's 33 years old. He was dealing with an injury last year in Seattle, and he clearly wasn't 100%. And it's all about where you have Yanni on your roster, right? So for Yanni Gourde, again, one of my big issues with the way that the Lightning put their team out there to start the playoffs is that Yanni Gourde was on the first line with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. Like, Yanni's not that guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a third or fourth line player that plays with the freaking tenacity of a pit bull, heart of a lion. He's a great player for what he does. He was a third-line dynamo for this team when they went to back-to-back, or they went to 3 straight cups when they won back-to-back cups. He was on that third line with Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. Like, that was his thing. He's a checking forward. He's not a scoring forward. Look back, a couple of years before they won a cup, he went 50-plus games without scoring a goal. You can't have that as one of your top 6 forwards. If he comes back and he is on that fourth line and he makes that fourth line his own for as long as humanly possible in this 6-year deal, I got no issue with it. One thing you have to be cognizant of is that the salary cap is going to go up and up and up, which is good. Steady increase. That's what we want to see from the National Hockey League. And the after effects of the 4 nations, the after effects of the Olympics that are coming up can only help. Right? And that's why you're hoping that in 3 or 4 years that a $2 million deal for your fourth line guy is not that big of a deal. Even if you have to convert some of that money later on to LTIR or dead cap or like anything like that we see in sports. No issue with that at all. But he is 33 and you're wondering what you're going to get moving forward. So you kind of look at the way this roster is set up right now, and we're just looking offensively, right? You got Point, Kucherov, and Gensel. You have Sorelli, Hagel, and let's just go Nick Paul. 6 guys, 6 veteran guys. Outside of a trade, they're going to be on the roster next year. I think you can put Gage Gonsalves on that list as well. You're going to put Oliver Bjorkstrand on that list as well because he's signed for this year. Is Connor Geeky in the mix for that? I would say yes. So those are 9 forwards that you have locked in to your team for 2025. And that's obviously, barring a trade that we haven't obviously seen yet. Don't be surprised if the Lightning make a big move. We had this conversation last week with Dave Randorf. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lightning try to change things. And that's why I said when they lost in Game 5, I think this is the end of the era, end of a certain era with the Tampa Bay Lightning, because I feel like nobody saw the Sergachev move coming. Nobody really we're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning when it comes to signing Jake Gensel. A lot of people thought he could have went back to Carolina. And then your fourth line, right? Is Mitchell Chaffee come back, right? What do you do with Luke Glendening, Zemgus Girgensons? Yanni's going to be on that fourth line, no doubt, because this is what this deal tells you. But this is a 6-year deal worth $2.33 per year. It's not 2.33 total. It's 2.33 per year. Okay? That's something you have to be aware of. I don't hate the deal. And here's the thing. Okay? A great picture. I'll share this with you guys because I know you want to see Yanni's mug. There we go. Look at that guy. Look at that stud. There you go. One thing I can tell you about Yanni Gourde, and this is, again, the reason why you want to come to this show. This is the reason why you're here, because you get information that you're not going to get from anybody else talking about this live today, because I've been in the locker rooms. I've talked to Yanni Gourde. I was there the day he got traded back here. And just talking to him, there was one of those for 2 reasons. One, he knew he had a lot of shit to do with his family. He was like, God, man, I got to get my wife. I got to get the kids over here. But there was also I'm home. My wife's going to love this. My family's going to love this. My kids are going to love this. And when you make a deal like this, right, this is not just a deal that Yanni signs before free agency on July 1st. You don't just sign this deal because the team is a good fit. You make this deal because it's a great fit for your family, this community. Yanni is a guy that, this is the place. He's going to be one of those guys. I asked John Cooper this many years ago at the Callahan event about the guys that are going to come back and live here when all's said and done. 2 of them are already here, Pat Maroon and Yanni Gourde. They were both gone at the time, right? You saw Patty Maroon at Monday Night Raw at the Yuengling Center, and Yanni gets traded back and he signs a 6-year deal today. So I like this move for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I do. Yanni Gourde re-signing with the Bolts, 6 years, 2.33 per year. I think this deal is going to look better as the years go by because the salary cap is going to go up. And I think he has a lot left in the tank. My concerns are, when it comes to Yanni Gourde, he's 33 years old. So it's a 6-year deal, and he's going to be 39 when all is said and done. So it's something certainly to be cognizant of, because he is a guy that he plays like his hair's on fire. This isn't a guy that's going to go throughout the season and not hit anybody. So there's a certain wear and tear that you have to, understand that comes with the territory, signing a guy to a deal with that type of length. And also, I want to make sure that the Lightning put this guy in a position to succeed and get his role his role has to be specific. You're a bottom 6 guy. You're the 4th line center. That's your job. Roll with it for the next 5-6 years. You're on our 2nd penalty kill or our 3rd penalty kill, right? Because I think, Sorelli and Hagel are probably going to be number 1 in that first PK unit. Yanni is probably going to be number 2 or number 3 in that group. There's nothing wrong with that. but specify that role. That's going to be key to, I think, how this deal is going to work for Yanni and the Lightning. So again, I like the deal. I think you keep a guy here that's got, the championship pedigree. He loves playing here. The fans are going to love this move. And we've talked so much about the Tampa Bay Rays and the sending Chandler Simpson down and how people are pissed over the weekend, even though they split a series against the Houston Astros. On the other hand, you have the Tampa Bay Lightning that, nobody saw this coming maybe as quickly as it happened. They were thinking maybe it happened a little bit farther along in the summer. Could Yanni return? He did return. Could Yanni resign? He did resign. And Bolts Nation, even though they're still licking their wounds after losing to the Florida Panthers in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, they're feeling a little bit better today, knowing that number 37 is not just going to return for 1 year, but for 6. So good for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Great for Yanni Gourde. And I think this is one of those situations where Bolts Nation is very happy to be able to, just kind of lock it in. Like, Yanni's going to be here. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. All right, we're waiting on our guy. KJ Sales is going to join us here in a bit. I sent him the links. We should be ready. Ready for you, buddy. Want to get him in here. Because, man, just such great news from KJ Sales to be able to get him coaching in the league once again. I'm so proud of him. And this is a guy, future mayor in Tampa Bay, East Bay High School, going to North Carolina, coming back to the Tampa Bay area. He's just such a great example of kids in this area. And we'll get KJ. We'll bring him in right now. The one and only King. Who's that? The King with you?
Yes, sir.
What's up, little man? How you doing?
Good.
I got a picture of you on my phone somewhere when you were like this big and your daddy was holding you up. Man, unbelievable. How you doing, little man? You good?
Yes.
What are you doing? How's is school over?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you're happy now. What are you doing this summer?
Probably hanging out with my family.
Nice, man. You playing any sports yet?
Football.
Oh, of course. You got to follow in Dad's footsteps, of course, man. Well, it's good seeing you, man. You stay out of trouble, all right?
Okay.
All right, buddy. KJ, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on, baby? How you doing?
Oh, I'm so happy for you, man. I cannot tell you. You have been a guy that I followed your career, even going back to high school, and to be able to see, you're getting an opportunity now to be able to coach with the Chargers. Just take us through anybody that doesn't know about the process, know about the program. Let everybody know what this means for you to be able to go back with a team that, they gave you a lot of love when you
Right.
try to break camp with those guys. It seemed like there was a really good relationship with them.
Man, it's an unbelievable opportunity, man. I think, like I said, God works in mysterious ways. So I always like to give honor to God first and foremost, man, because, without God, I wouldn't be able to have these opportunities that I have. And I always tell people, man, it's not me. It's just favor over my life, man, believing in something that's bigger than me. But I don't think this is a coincidence, man. Like I said, God works in mysterious ways. To be able to play for an organization that a guy like Jalil Adai, who's from the area that, I grew up in and things of that nature, who got a chance to play there. And then they came back and got another Tampa kid who's an undrafted free agent kid, and took a chance on him and gave me a chance. And now being able to come here and go there and coach, man, I think, things align, and to be under Coach Harbaugh and Stephen Cleanscale, who offered me my first scholarship at Cincinnati when I was coming out of high school. Like, I don't think things are a coincidence. So, I'm blessed and highly favored, man. And I just continue to give all honor to God, man.
So you were selected for the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowship with the Los Angeles Chargers, which is amazing. What does this mean for you? Is this something that is a training camp position? Is this something for the entire season? Like, tell us. And it's going to be with the defensive backs, positions you know all too well. So what does this entail? What do they expect from you? What are you going to be doing?
Pretty much that, it's like an interview, man. You expect for me to come in and work hard. Of course, potentially walking away, probably with a year-long internship. But just the experience is something that I'm looking forward to. getting a chance to ask questions, getting a chance to be under Coach Harbaugh and Coach Mentor and Coach Cleanscale and a lot of the guys, you know, being back with the guys, Derwin James and those guys and stuff like that, man, it's really just getting the opportunity to just show that I'm willing to work. Yes, I'm a former player, you know, but I'm willing to put in the work as a coach. I'm not a player anymore. I'm a coach, and I'm trying to lead young men and men in the right direction. So, you know, potentially, you know, signing to a year-long internship is the goal. But, you know, like I said, God works in mysterious ways, so we never know what he got planned for me, man.
That's awesome, man. That's so great. And it just shows you it's not what you know in this world, it's who you know. And you don't get opportunities like this, KJ, if you didn't leave a great impression on people along the way.
Right.
You just never know, man. I mean, even the times we talk, like we did interviews, and this is when I was doing interviews weekly over there. And you just think of some of the guys like Mitchell Wilcox and seeing what he's been able to do, right? And Jordan McLeod and seeing where he went, and Bentley Sanders and just playing in the CFL. Like, just it's so wild how like we're all in our bubble over at South Florida, and then just 4 or 5 years later, like everybody goes off and they're doing Mitch playing with the Bengals. He's doing it right. It's like it's something crazy to be able to see, like how many times like you cross paths with these guys, and then they all go their different way. But like the good people always, like the cream always rises to the top. Don't you agree with that?
Sir. I definitely agree with that, man. I think I was in church the other day, man, and it's about being your authentic self. You got to be your authentic self. And you got to trust the process. You know, you got to sacrifice some things in order to get to where you got to get to. I think that, you know, a lot of people, the regular person isn't willing to sacrifice things and look at things 10 years down the line. You know, everybody wants everything to be microwave. And I'm not living in a microwave where I never will be, never will teach my kids to live like that. So, you know, I think that, you know, you got to go through a process. Everybody has to go through something, man, to get to where they want to get to.
Yeah, no doubt. And people ask me about that too, of like, you know, where my steps in the process and everything. I said, man, there's a lot of things that you can't control. But one thing you can control is how hard you work every single day. Don't let anybody challenge your work ethic. And you can show up early, you can stay late, you can treat people well, you can say please, you can say thank you, you can leave the place better than when you got there. Like those are the things that you can control. And when you take care of that, a lot of other things take care of itself. I got to ask you personally, you got hitched too you got married over the last couple of months, man. Look at you, man. Like, I mean, I was so happy, man.
Another thing, man, that I say, and shout out to my sweetheart, man, because I told her I was going to shout her out on here, man. Another thing that I would say, man, is you got to have everybody needs somebody in life. And that somebody that I needed is my wife. Without her, man, without God putting her in my life, I don't know where I would be. So, you know, I'm extremely thankful, and I'm actually thankful, man, that I get to share life with her. You know, I get to go on this journey with her, have, you know, my kids with her, man. It's beautiful. And not too many people can say they married their high school sweetheart. We've been together for 11 years. And I'm looking forward to this long journey of marriage, man, and spending the rest of my life with her. So love you, baby girl. Shout out to you.
And I've known this is something and I know how important your faith is to you. And, you know, your family, everything. I mean, to be able to make that decision that you made to come back home to play for USF, but just, again, like seeing you pick up a little man and just to see how old he is now, it's so crazy for me to be able to see him. But just how important has family been in? I know your family's important to you. I think that's obviously, an easy thing to say. But as far as the priority of what your family is in your life, KJ, into how you make the decisions to make your life better?
Man, honestly, man, like I said, if God is at the forefront of your life, you know, everything else falls into place after that. You know, because God is love, and, you know, what you value will show you, you know, will bring things around you, will attract you to the things that you want to be attracted to. And so with my family, it goes back to say with my family, man, I value family so much because I know, you know, what it feels like to not feel like you don't have anybody, or what it feels like to feel like you're back in the corner. And that I don't want my kids to feel that way. You know, I want my wife to always know that I'll be here for her. But it's about integrity, man. Standing for something and not falling for anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I live by, man. That's what I go by, man. And again, you hit it right on the head, man. Coming back to South Florida, you know, for my son King and for my long time, now my wife Kiana. it's bittersweet to see, man. You know, because back then, you know, I was just thinking about getting home, and look at where it turned. I met guys like you, you know, Jane Castor, and you know, became, you know, a public figure in my community, and not knowing that it would lead me to this point. I always said I didn't want to coach, and
you got a plan, and then the good Lord says, "Yeah, okay, that's your plan, buddy."
Hey, lean not into your own understanding, man. So, you know, I just, like I said, you know, following God's plan, man. And, you know, I want to be, you know, in a, like I said before, man, in a world to where, in a generation where marriage is broken, you know, I want to stand in that gap, man, to show that it can be done and it will be done the right and correct way. So, man, I don't want to precede, man.
No, it's I think it's important, man. And I have a lot, you know, I grew up in a very, you know, multicultural, you know, where I grew up, 16 white kids out of 1,600 in my high school, right? My best friend was Jamaican. My other one was from the Bahamas. My other best friend was Puerto Rican. I was the lone gringo of the whole group. And, you know, my best friend, Kellen, and he would always tell me, he goes, you know, he was one of 6 brothers, and you know, his mom and dad got divorced, and he would always tell me, I really want to get married. I really wanted the black household. It's important to me. And you know, unfortunately he never got married, but it was always in his mind, like, I got to make sure when I have my kid. And it was just something that we talked about at a young age, and I just thought it was very mature. And you know, I always got that same sense for you, and I think that's why we've gotten so close over the years, is because you remind me of my friends like Kellen and Runt and guys that I grew up with. That it was just like, it was important to them. It was like keeping that household together, where even if I don't stay with the mom, but like, we're gonna do, you know, it was just important, you know, to try to break that vicious cycle, you know. And you know, I've always just been such an admirer that was such a priority to you so early on in your life, because you have a lot of decisions to make when you're a college kid, and you looked at it. And I remember being there and with Coach Straw, and not knowing if you were going to play that first game, and just hearing about the story of you coming back and going like, man, this kid, like, he's far more mature than people that are twice his age. And it's funny that you say like you didn't want to get into coaching, because like the Lord looks at you and there's like, you have an ability to impact other people's lives, right?
Indeed.
And I my favorite quote, and I always butcher it, it's from Jackie Robinson, and it's, a life is only as important as how it impacts and affects other people. And it's just like, it's amazing, because you've always talked about your future, and I've always kind of shied away talking about my future, because I'm always like, live one day at a time. You never know what's going to happen. And I looked at it as like in a graceful way of like, not trying to put the cart before the hearse, not trying to act like, you know, I know better. But there's also something of like, you do want to plan for the future, and you do want to put yourself, and you've always, you know, done that at a young age, which is, it doesn't happen, bro. It doesn't. And again, I'm trying to, in myself, trying to change that about myself, to plan a little bit more for the future, and to be cognizant of the decisions I make. And, you know, chances are I'm not going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be grateful for what I have, but it's also like, you've always had that mindset. And it's always been inspiring to me. And that's why I think for anybody that's watching the show today, you can learn from anybody at any time of your life. I'm damn near twice KJ's age. You know, even though the grays, I do a good job of keeping the grays down.
Well, you still look good, oh my boy.
Yes, I appreciate you, my man. But I think the kind of stuff like that is important. And you said about being in the community, like, we get around guys like Titus, right? Titus O'Neil's such a great example, okay? Like, he's like a big brother to both of us, of like, he's all around the world, you know, but if we text him or we call him, or there's an event to be at, or he wants us to be a part of an event, like, he'll reach out to us. I mean, we speak about family a lot, but I mean, this community has done such a great job, I think, in helping raise you, right? To like get you to this level.
Man, listen, I'll tell anybody this, man. Your community could literally help you live.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what I live by. I feel like you're nothing without your community. You know, the people are what make a city. The people are what makes a neighborhood. It's the people. People are what makes family. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, man, it's all about how you treat people. It's all about, you know, what impact you leave on someone's life. You know what I mean? And so I love my community, and I love where I grew up. I love the Tampa Bay area because it raised me into being who I am. I had the opportunity to stay in the hood. I had the opportunity to stay in the suburbs. You know what I mean? So I had the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? So I can understand the struggle, but then again, I can understand the middle class. You know what I mean? So I understand what it's like being on both ends. It's not like your community, man, because we all we got. You know, it's black,
we
white.
got. You're right.
We all we got, dog. Black, white, purple. What it don't matter. We all we got. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. And I'm proud of you, man. I just want to let you know that I'm extremely proud of you, and I'm so glad that I had a chance, that God gave me the chance to come back home and meet you, man. Because, you know, like I said, man, it's the people that you meet. That's what life's about. Life is about people.
You got
Without
that
people,
right, man.
be life. You know what I mean? So yeah, man.
Yeah, you're right. Because you mentioned Mayor Castor a lot and Titus O'Neil, and like we meet Rob Higgins over the years, and like, you go to the sneaker soiree every year, and it's just like it's the best of the best.
Yes,
and it's not, we're not just saying like the best of the best athletes, like it's the best of the best people, right? And when you go to that, like when we saw each other, like how many people you see after the event is done going up and hugging people and dapping people up and just like showing bro, there's so much love in that building wherever the event is held. I mean, it really is the highlight of our community when it comes to sports, even beyond sports. I mean, it's pretty wild. I'm lucky I'm so fortunate and so grateful every time we go there.
Yes, indeed, man. And shout out to Rob Higgins, man.
He's the best, man. Tampa Bay Sports Commission. All right, so when do you leave for LA or whenever?
I leave actually this Sunday.
Oh man.
Out of here. Yes, sir.
Unbelievable. Well, KJ, you know how proud I am of you. Our entire city is behind you. Of course, we'll stay in touch for sure. And again, meet as many people as you can humanly possible. Shake hands, kiss babies, say hi to the janitors and everybody around there. And you just never know what door you open and what that's going to lead to. So again, proud of you. Thank you so much for your time today. And we'll talk soon, man. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate you, big bro. God bless you, man.
Same to you, man. Give my love to the family, all right? Get a baseball glove in that kid's hand too. Get him a hockey stick too, man. We need a deep.
Shout out to Ryan too, man. Shout out to my dog Ryan, man, with the Tampa Bay Rays, baby. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. We gotta get him all over, man. We gotta get the new Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders for the King for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For sure. Definitely that.
All right, my man. Talk soon. See you. Thanks.
All right, man. Yes, sir.
All right. The one and only KJ Sales. Unbelievable. What a great kid. What a great kid. Just so happy for him. That's what it's all about, man. It's what this community is all about. Let's talk a little Taylor Walls. How about that? You guys want to talk about the Taylor Walls thing? Let's see. I'm going to repost this real fast. All right. All right, so hold on, folks. All right, so I posted this on social media, right? This was the Taylor Walls thing. He got thrown out of the game yesterday, okay? So I posted the video, and I'm going to play the video here because I am not going to just spit out. Oh my God, this is wild. So I posted this video yesterday that I'm going to play for you. It's about Taylor Walls and what happened in the game yesterday. He gets thrown out of the game and he tapped his helmet. I posted on TikTok. It's got 1.1 million views on TikTok. That's less than 24 hours ago. That is wild. So Taylor Walls, ninth inning, Josh Hader, terrible pitch. And he goes back and forth with the umpire and he taps his helmet, even though he says to the umpire, and I'm going to put what he said after the game up in a bit. But it's pretty crazy to me that he's listen, if you do something, bro, fine, just live with it. I don't know. It is what it is. All right, so here it is. This is the Taylor Walls thing from yesterday. If you missed it, here we go. Let me see. All right, here we go. Check this out.
Biggest news in Rays Nation today, Taylor Walls getting thrown out in Houston. To be fair, an absolutely terrible call from the home plate umpire. It's hard enough to hit against Josh Hader, and Walls gives him an earful, but watch this. He tries to be slick here. He adjusts his helmet and then taps the top of the helmet, just like we saw earlier in spring training. That's how you call for a review of that last pitch. The home plate umpire catches him and promptly throws him out of the game. It's like when you give somebody the finger, right? And you're like, oh, no, I didn't give you the finger. I was just scratching my face. We saw it. And here comes Kevin Cash trying to mitigate the damage, trying to defend his guy and minimize any fine or suspension that's heading Taylor Walls' way. And you get it with Taylor, right? Offensively, he has really struggled this season, and I am sure that he hears the murmurs about Ha-Seong Kim coming up in a couple of weeks and possibly being the everyday shortstop. I don't know if I've ever seen Taylor Walls this mad during his entire tenure with the Tampa Bay Rays. And listen, he's not done. He goes back. Rodney Linares can't even hold him down. He is pissed. Rays lose 1-0 in Houston. If only they had a guy on the bench that could get into the game and create a run out of nowhere. But, oh, wait, they sent him down.
I had to throw some shit in there with the whole Chandler Simpson thing, but it's just the way it goes. Okay, so this is what Taylor Walls had to say after the game. This is from Ryan Bass. He spoke to him after the game. And listen, okay, this is your prerogative, fine. But here, let's see if make sure that I'm bringing up the right thing here. Hold on, folks. All right, here we go. All right, so this is what Taylor Walls had to say about the situation. He said, and I quote, "I said that ball's down, and then I heard the dugout kind of yapping at him a little bit, and I may have reiterated that ball's way down, but past that, I didn't say anything. I was ticked off. Probably the body language said more than my mouth did, but call time, kind of tried to recollect myself. I was still a little frustrated, especially in that situation. Went to get back in the box, and I heard him mouthing something at me, which I thought was kind of out of the ordinary, being I didn't really say much to him. If anything, I figured he'd be talking to the dugout. I just remember going to get into the box, kind of adjusting my helmet, and then hearing him mouthing something. I think I said, huh? Like, what'd you say? I can't hear you. At that point, I have no recollection of it, but after seeing the video, it looks like I tapped my helmet, but it was totally unintentional, something I was not consciously aware of at all. I'm looking right at him when I'm doing it with no sincere at that point. Maybe I was frustrated with the strike call. No, maybe you were. But there was no sincerity of trying to show the guy up. I don't know how he didn't see that in the moment, but I'm looking right at him. We're so confused, trying to understand what he said, and I think it was just a mannerism that happened because I was stepping into the box, kind of readjusting my helmet at the time, and that just happened. He comes out, and he's like, we're not doing that. You're out of here, and tosses me. So at this point, I have no idea that I just, what looked like to him, tapped my helmet, so I'm ticked off. I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't say anything to you. I'm asking you what you said, and had no recollection that I was even made a gesture that looked like that. Never in my life have shown an umpire like been that disrespectful to do something like that. We didn't even have the ABS in spring training. So just to be so on edge thinking that somebody's just trying to be disrespectful and show you up at that point, I think it was premature. I don't really remember any time that I've been thrown out of a game since I played baseball. I kind of want to apologize to him for if that's what he thought that I did. But at the same time, like after missing a call, you kind of have to understand the situation. You can't just toss me for something that you're not totally sure that I was doing it intentionally to disrespect. Okay, so when it comes to the Taylor Walls thing, right? You can say whatever you want. You tap your helmet. I'm sorry. It is not up to the umpire to know your history and to know your background that you've never gotten thrown out before. You are literally arguing with the man. So to think that you are going to get the benefit of the doubt that you weren't trying to show him up when professional athletes are some of the most confident, maybe egotistical people on the planet. And listen, you have to have that belief and confidence in yourself. It is what it is, right? See guys bat flip all the time, fist pump off the mound, mean mug people after dunks. I mean, it's just the way it is. You know, in the big leagues that if you tap your helmet to simulate like you're asking for a replay or a review, you're going to get thrown out of the game. This is not something that's new. Guys have done it. He's not the first guy. He won't be the last. To say that you didn't know that you did it, you were caught in the heat of the moment, it's always going to be our word against Taylor Walls. He's a great guy, but he's very frustrated right now. You can't tell me that what I said in the video is not factoring in. He's not going to admit this, but he knows that he's staring down the barrel of possibly not being on this team anymore. So you can say that you've never done that before, but you've also never been faced with the reality that your time with this team could be coming to a close. You are a guy that has been lauded throughout this organization for having a tremendous glove. I mean, when Willie Adames was here, when Wander was here, when like everybody said Taylor Walls has the best glove out of all of them, and they're not wrong. He's a phenomenal fielder. He's probably the best fielder in all of baseball this year, but he's really having trouble coming up with hits. Offensively, it's been a struggle. He can say all he wants about, oh, I didn't mean to do it. You did it. And it's not up to the umpire to infer whether you were being disrespectful or not. It's known in the league that if you do something like that, that's on you. Like, the fact that people are giving Taylor Walls a pass for this is kind of comical to me. It's kind of funny. Like, you didn't know you tapped your helmet? And I've been watching Taylor Walls. He doesn't tap his helmet like that. He adjusts his helmet the way he does, like, stepping into the box all the time. I've never seen him tap the top of his helmet like that. And listen, if you find video of it and you could tag me in it, fine. I don't care. It's not about being right or wrong. I just don't remember it, right? If he does it all the time, okay, then fine. Maybe this is, but it's not up to the umpire to know the quirks and idiosyncrasies of these hitters. Sorry. You're frustrated. You're pissed off. All right, fine. What about your actions afterwards? Running away from Rodney Linares and like running after the umpire. Like, that's stuff that you can control. And you flew off the handle. You talk about being a guy that's never gotten thrown out before. I mean, it looked like it because you did not know how to handle yourself. He freaking went nuts. Everybody's got a tipping point. Everybody's got that thing that you just never know, man. So whether he meant it or not, only Taylor Walls knows that. You can regurgitate anything that he says. You can have these Rays fans that are just like, he would never do that. You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know what goes on inside people's heads. You could be the biggest Rays fan, you know. Doesn't matter. Things happen. Dustin, I appreciate the kind words. He's like, I didn't tap shit. Sure as hell did. It's in the Geneva Convention. Like, you did. You did. Does it mean he's a bad person? Hell no. It happens. I wish he owned it. I wish he was like, yeah, I tapped that shit. You need to get your head out of your ass, Blue. That's what I would have said. Like, if you're going to get thrown out, get your money's worth. I got thrown out one time on some bullshit. And I was like, if I'm getting thrown out, I'm getting thrown out. And I just let the guy have it. And this is when I was playing. I wasn't coaching. I was playing. This guy, I got out and I took the ball on my bat and I kind of just like flipped it on the fence. I didn't throw it. I flipped it. And he said I threw my bat. And I was like, I didn't throw my bat. He's like, yes, you did. And I'm like, I threw my bat. Why is it like standing very nicely or propped up against the fence? And I let the guy have it. And we used to call him Deuce. That's what he used to. He was an umpire in La Liga Chino Almonte. It's a fast pitch softball league here in New Tampa. Again, the only white guy in the entire league. They called me Gringo. That was my name. And Deuce. And he threw me out of the game for throwing my bat. I was like, if you want to see me throw my bat, I'll throw this over the fence. I didn't care. But I mean, listen, it's sports, man. People are going to get fired up. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. It's okay. But like, own it, right? Own it. Own it. It happens, right? Hopefully, this is something where you can push forward and play better on the other side. Because it's been a tough putt when it comes to him offensively. Defensively, he's been fantastic. I mean, it's been so good for him this year. He's going to win the Platinum Glove, depending on how much he plays. But offensively, he's really left a lot to be desired. And, it's only natural. Hassan Kim, right around the corner. He's going to be there. And when you see how much Jose Caballero's been playing for the Rays, you have to think if you're Taylor Walls, kind of the writing is on, pun intended, the writing is on the wall as far as his future with this team. Like what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks because you want to play Caballero. He's such a factor on the base pass, and he's a guy that also can play the outfield spots. You brought in Hassan Kim for a reason. You want him to be able to be a guy that is going to contribute to this team, especially offensively. And we know he can pick it. He can play a bunch of different spots as well. All right, let's bring him in. The champ, after a day full of travel, Coach Coleman in the house, baby. Pasco Hernando wins the JUCO D2 World Series. Have you come off of cloud 9 yet?
I've got about 8 hours of sleep, in the last 48 hours. So it's been a little run.
I mean, I know we were texting back and forth last night. Like when you opened your phone after the game was done, what was that like to be able to see how many messages you got from people?
I'm probably over 500 text messages. I probably responded to about 150 people so far. Combination of Twitter, X, Facebook, all of it together. It gets overwhelming,
Who was the biggest surprise? Was there a big surprise out of all of them?
Well, Ron DeSantis wished us good luck for before we play the national championship game.
Unbelievable! I saw that on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, that's freaking awesome, man!" To be able to.
A lot of people don't know Ron DeSantis played college baseball.
So yeah, I'm an athlete. I knew I went to. I used to work at a guy at iHeart that went to high school with him, and saw the yearbook picture. I was like, "Look at this guy, man!" But it's just another example, right, Coach? Of when you look at baseball, especially in our area, there's so much talent, and to be able to see your guys and to be able to get guys from this area to be able to do things together collectively, and you hit 2 freaking grand slams, when you're down like. Take us through that 7th inning there. You're in the championship game. You're down 7-3. What's the message to the team? Was it anything different? What did they do something different? Or what got into the guys there to kind of just say, hey, this is the season right now. And you want to talk about a season for the ages. You're going to be thinking about that the rest of your life.
Yeah. So, we had a tough matchup there with their second arm that they brought out, which was a lefty. He was like 90, 94. And I told our guys, we just got to weather the storm and hang in there as long as we possibly can, make that guy throw as many pitches as he could. He threw 87 pitches on the Tuesday before, so I knew he wasn't going to be able to stay out there and finish the game. Really, at the end of the day, the reason why we won the game was their starter who started, we got him out in the 3rd. If they were able to go 4 or 5 innings with that guy and then come in with the lefty, we would have been in a tough spot. But we ended up leading off the inning with a walk or 2 walks, and they ended up going to the pen and went to a righty. But I tell those guys all the time, when we went out there in 2019, we did the same thing at Port River. I think we were down 9 runs with like 6 or 7 outs to go, and we scored like 10 runs and ended up walking off against them. So no lead is safe in Enid. Elevation's up high. There's wind blowing all over the place. The strike zone is the size of a shoebox. There's a couple things that happen. Grant Jordan, he caught a fastball and hit it to right field for the first grand slam. And then the second rally we started that rally with 2 outs. We went walk, and then they went to the bullpen again. And Clay Thompson out of Jesuit High School, Clay and Grant are both teammates from Jesuit. I walked up to Clay and I was like, hey, this guy's like 94, 97. He's probably throwing a baseball 100 miles per hour in his life. He doesn't really know where it's going. I said, get up there and stand right on the line. Clay's a phenomenal baseball player for us. He had a great year. He's going to have a chance to be an All-American. And he was taken. And I told him to take. I said, just stand in there, and he's going to throw him right into square in your back. And they threw a ball, and it hit him square on the elbow and loaded the bases. And then Durfee, who's from Braden Durfee, who's from Land O'Lakes. I told him, I said, we need to run. Just do whatever it takes to get it in. And he hung a 2-strike breaking ball, and it just ran right into his barrel and hit it 400 foot to left field. So kids were so excited. I seen players in my dugout, and I've never seen this before and witnessed this. I seen players in my dugout that they were so emotionally out of control that they were throwing up.
Yeah,
like throwing up in the trash can. That's how excited the guys were. So.
I mean, I saw one of the video packages that you guys put together, the highlight package, and it was just like, and I was getting emotional just watching it. I can't imagine being there, and you see the wind howling, and yeah, you mentioned Jesuit. Coach Miguel does such a great job over there with the Tigers, and to be able to invest in. I say this all the time, when I have conversations with people about the Rays, like, don't tell me this isn't a baseball town, and obviously it goes outside of just the Tampa Bay area, Newport Richie, we're talking Clearwater, this whole area, the 813-727-352, everybody up and beyond. Like, there's so much great baseball in the Tampa Bay area. And to be able to take guys and to be able to keep them home, right? And to be able to do something like that, how special is that?
Well, it's the density of talent in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Illinois, there's good players. You go to Iowa, there's good players. You go to Ohio, there's good players. They have players that make it to the big leagues. There's athletes up there for sure. But it's just the depth and density of talent that we have in our state, and especially the Tampa Bay area, that's really changing. Obviously, we got a national championship now. Hillsboro's got a national championship. St. Pete Community College has been a powerhouse for years, especially back in the Pano days. You got State College of Florida right down there that's a powerhouse with Tim Hill. You got Al Corbeil over at Polk, who's been to Grand Junction. I think he just picked up like his 500th win in 13 or 14 years. I mean, and I can get to all those schools and all those junior colleges within an hour and a half. And then you just drive up 75, another hour and a half. You go to CF, and they just won a national championship a couple of years ago. Right. We've all been nationally ranked. We're all sitting there battling it out for recruits and players. It just shows the high school coaches that we have in the area, the travel ball coaches they have in the area, the academies are starting to pick up. The academies are starting to bring players in from other parts of the country, and bring them in here, and they're starting an NAA league that has a ton of depth to it. And it just shows that Florida reigns supreme. We may not be able to do it every year, but we are a force to be reckoned with at every level, between Florida State and Florida at the Division I level. Then you go to the University of Tampa at the Division II level, and they got a chance to win their NCAA for, Joe Urso's probably going for his 8th or 9th at this point in time. Southeastern over in Lakeland, which is the NAIA team. Weber and Southeastern both made it to the World Series. Southeastern just finished second to LSU Shreveport. FSW went to Grand Junction. Down in Fort Myers, we went to Enid. The state's spending a lot of money on travel for the World Series.
You got that right, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Joe and I are really good friends from over the years. They played a night at 6 p.m. I look at the baseball, and this is what I love. When I coached, I was at Freedom for a couple of years, Freedom High School, and just coaching travel ball. And there is somewhere for so many high school kids to be able to play. Right. And it used to be, and I remember growing up, like, if you weren't going D1, you weren't going maybe D2, like there was some JUCOs, and it wasn't, I grew up on Long Island, so it was a little different. But down here, and I think it's important, right, Coach, for these people to know out there, like, there's a lot of places for you to be able to play and good baseball. You're mentioning a guy, you're thinking, for people that aren't informed, they're like, oh, JUCO, how good can the talent be? I'm like, you gotta watch these games, man. You just said you got a guy throwing 90, 94. Like that guy could, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not that much of a drop off, if at all. I mean, you see some incredible talent at the JUCO level, don't you?
Yeah, it's loaded. Michael Savarese, our number one this year, he went 14-0. I don't know what his ERA ended up finishing at, but I mean, he's our Hernando High School a graduate. Our number 2, he's our Hernando High School graduate, and Riley Fisher. Our second baseman's from Fort Myers, our shortstops from Jesuit, our third baseman's from Miami, left fielders from Land O'Lakes, center fielders from Jesuit, our right fielders from Claremont. One of the most proud things that I ever did was in 2023. Okay, I wrote a lineup and won a conference series in our conference. And 8 of the 9 players that I wrote in the lineup slept in their own bed with their parents the night before they came and played. And we had the number 1 ranked offense in the country at that point in time. But getting to your point about, colleges and all that type of stuff, really at the end of the day, especially for a lot of guys that play here in Florida that can play high school baseball, the real question is just how bad do you want to play? Because exactly. There's, and they say, hey, like, how bad do you love the game? How bad do you want to be good at the game? And all that type of stuff. And because there's a place to play for everybody. If you want to play college baseball, some people have to work a little bit harder to find their right fit and find their right niche. But there is a place to play for everybody, especially if you play high school baseball in Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, no doubt about it, because you're playing in one of the better, high school kind of levels, wherever you're at. If you are making any kind of impact and you have some kind of talent, there's definitely a place for you to go. One thing, there's so many perils of social media, so many bad things, but one thing I love about social media is when you're able to see messages and you're able to see comments and replies and reposts of what happened with you guys winning the World Series. And one of the underlying themes that I was able to glean from a lot of those messages was the way that you not only coach these players, but also mentor these young men. How important is that to you to be able to be in this position to, and I've said this for years, like baseball is such a great sport. You deal with failure. There's so many analogies to life. You take all these life lessons. Like, how important is it for you to be in this spot, to be able to mentor these guys, to be able to make sure that, like, hey, as much as I want to help you on the field, some of the lessons I'm going to teach you off of it are something that are the things that you're probably going to take with you for decades to come.
Yeah. So what I like to say about junior college is it's the bridge. Okay. Nobody's going in their freshman or sophomore year of high school saying, hey, I want to go be a Pasco or Hernando State College Bobcat. And I'm just dying to go there. Everybody wants to go to Florida. Everybody wants to go to Florida State. Everybody wants to go to the schools that are on TV. We are a bridge. Okay. To help change some things and some deficiencies that you have, not only on the baseball field, but maybe in the classroom, off the field in life or whatever, to be able to mature, grow, get your academics in, so you get an AA degree, so you can reset yourself back out on the open market and go find that school that maybe overlooked you out of high school. But I tell people all the time that, it's easy to sign a player. How many college baseball teams haven't had a full baseball roster? You go anywhere. They have full rosters. It's easy to sign players, right? It's easy to write a lineup. It's easy to roll a baseball out there and get some umpires and schedule a game and go play baseball. But it's really hard to win. And it's really hard to win year in, year out, every single year. And it's exhausting because, you have to pour into the players as much as you do emotionally, as you do physically, as you do mechanically, and it takes a village to run a successful college baseball program. We not only have academic support here, we have our school support, we have financial support, the foundation, the marketing. You start running into the parents, and the parental support. How they get involved in the housing and travel and food and going all the way out to Enid. There's so many pieces that go into it to making the whole system run. The alumni are huge, and all the people and that's what a lot of people don't know is, we were the number 1 seed for 3 years in a row, and we couldn't get out of the state of Florida. We lost that tournament 3 years in a row, and no knock on some of the teams who are at the district championship and at the World Series, but it was harder to get out of our state than it was to play at the World Series. Okay. Our toughest game past the state of Florida was out at the World Series against Pearl River. It was like we played here, and then we took a gap and played against Pearl River, which they're really good. They're every bit of deserving of credit. But I wouldn't do this if it wasn't for just writing a lineup. I spend more time on all the other stuff, and that's what people that are not around college baseball programs enough and don't understand it. It is a 24/7, 365-day year job, and I get the most text messages and the most phone calls on Christmas than I do on any other day of the year, and it's humbling for sure.
Yeah, and I'm the reason why I feel fortunate being in the position that I am talking to you today is that I've interviewed Coach Mitch Hannes at USF. I was with Joe or so in the group a couple of weeks ago, and to be able to talk to you today and just to kind of see how we just alluded to, there's college baseball, there's an outlet for everybody. But what Coach Mitch Hannes has had to deal with this year with USF coming into the first year of the program, Joe's going for title number 10, I think it is, and he's been there forever. And I remember talking to Joe and some of his coaches about the adjustments. Like, what do you do? And me with my coaching hat on, like, what do you do mechanically when a guy and they're like, we don't really deal with mechanics. We don't deal with certain things. And it's more about them feeling good. For you're doing it in a completely different way of, you get a mechanical issue, you got to change it. You got something where, your financial aid or grades, like you're almost operating on a different level, man. Like, and I am extremely, I think it's awesome what you do. And I think you're the right guy in the right spot, because I think you as a person, Coach, I think it's even more important that you're in the spot you are in outside of your baseball knowledge, because you get all these messages from people. Like, you can't fake stuff like that. People aren't going to tell you you're a good dude and you've impacted people's lives if you haven't done it. That's just not something people lie about. It's completely honest. So congratulations, first and foremost, man. Like, you are the right guy for the right spot, and I'm sure it's completely rewarding on a day like this. I know you're tired as hell, but I mean, what is it like, when you guys win the championship and then after the fact, right? Because I think that's one of the best things is, you celebrate on the field, but to be able to go off of the field, to go have that meal, to be able to be with the parents and the families and all that. What was that like when it kind of settled down a little bit and you kind of look around, you're like, we did it. We reached the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was just trying to enjoy the moment as much as I possibly could. Knowing how hard it was to get there. It's by far the most challenging thing that I've ever done in my life was to win that national championship, and be able to put a team on the field that was capable of doing it, because it's not all about talent, and we've had more talented teams. This is not my most talented team,
right,
by far, but this team, went above and beyond on getting everything. It was just like when we needed a clutch hit, they got it done. But I think that just goes to show the testament of the character of our players, and our team, and what they're capable of doing, because it was selfless. I had Clay Thompson, get up there, and the kid was throwing 94, 97. And I walked up, and we're in the 7th inning of a national championship game, tied 7-7. And I told him to stand on the white lines and wear a 95-mile-per-hour pitch in the back.
Right here, buddy.
So, and he walked right up there, and you watch the video. I mean, both his feet were exactly where I said it, and he took a 95-mile-per-hour pitch off the back. And it's humbling to be in the position that I'm in, because you're you feel like you're working for a travel company, setting up all the travel. You feel like a trainer at times because you're taping wrists and
Right.
ankles. You're fundraising. You're fitting guys for shirts and ordering uniforms and and all that type of stuff. I'm just blessed to have the support from the players that we've had over the years, and they see what and how hard everybody has worked. This championship was won in 2025, but really at the end of the day, every single person that's ever played for me and for Steve Winterling here at Pasco, at Hernando, and Pasco Hernando Community College, they're all champions. With this one, we're all a part of it.
No doubt about it. Right coach at the right spot. More importantly, the right man in the right spot. Coach Coleman, thank you so much, man. I know you're very busy. I know you got to answer 350 more text messages. So I appreciate you so much. Congratulations, man. Again, making our area so very proud. And hey, here's to another one in 2026, brother. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. Unbelievable. What a story. It just doesn't stop. We have so much talent, but we have so many great people here in the Bay Area. And that's why I do what I do here on the Jay Recher podcast, trying to make sure that we're highlighting some of the best people in our area. And Coach Coleman is one of those people. And, just to see a lot of the messages, again, I brought it up to him. It's just, I love that, man. I think a true testament to your character is what other people say about you, right? And I know at the end of the day, sometimes like when people talk smack or people are hating, you don't worry about those type of people. But when there's great things being said about you by an abundance of different people, I mean, how do you ignore that? And those are the kind of people that you want to be around, right? And like-minded people. I mean, it's like you think about it, you look at Jesuit High School, right? Miguel's such a great guy. He's got two people there, right? At Pasco Hernando, winning a World Series, right? He's got Cole Russo over at UT playing first base for Coach Joe Urso, right? Like there's these common threads between, forget about coaches, about people that you're going to find in your life. Like if you surround yourself with great people, you're going to find out that there's people that you don't know each other, have known each other for a very long time. And you're like, that makes a lot of sense, right? I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people out there. You go to a place and you're like, I never knew that guy knew that guy. No idea, no clue. But it's like, it makes sense. Great people, great families, great husbands, fathers, mothers, daughters, sisters, brothers, like everybody. Really, really great stuff. I'm so glad that Coach Coleman was able to join us on the program today. All right, let's finish things up real quick. Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, we mentioned Yanni Gourde. He said, I'm so happy to be able to continue my journey with the Lightning, but also the term was a big factor. I'm very happy and very excited for the future. It was definitely an exciting last couple of days. All right, let's get to, before we wrap things up, the quick hits from over the weekend. The USF Hall of Fame class of 2025. I mean, listen, you want to talk about a class that is impactful. I mean, my goodness. Amir Abdur-Rahim is going to lead the class, obviously posthumously. It's still crazy that he's not here with us. And Coach Michael Kelly says the class of 2025, a powerful reflection of the excellence, tradition, and growth that define USF athletics. This group represents some of the most impactful figures in our history, individuals who elevated their programs, inspired our community, and helped propel USF athletics to new heights. We're thrilled to welcome them into the Hall of Fame and celebrate their legacy with Bulls Nation. Of course, Amir Abdur-Rahim, Kit Loxa, who's playing in the WNBA. You saw Coach Jose Fernandez at a game, but Kit Loxa was playing for Phoenix. Courtney Williams obviously playing on the other side. It was just so great. Kavika Mitchell did really, really great. I mean, Super Bowl champion with the Giants, great football player. Jim Levitt, the former coach, and then Scott Heeman from the baseball program as well. So really, really awesome to be able to see our guys and gals be able to get their moment in the sun here. And that's a strong class in 2025. So shout out to MK and everybody involved there. Really, really good stuff. We'll have Michael Kelly on with us here in a bit. Jac Caglianone gets called up by the Kansas City Royals, the Plan High, former Gator. I'm so excited for Jack and his family and all of his friends. Well deserved. Hopefully he ain't going back down. But man, that's you putting a guy in that could be a difference maker. We miss I wish he was playing for the Rays. But Jac Cags, man, let's see what the future holds for that young man. Because listen, he was a two-way stud there at Florida. For him to be able to get this opportunity, the big club, just adding to the list, another Tampa kid that's going to be playing in the pros. So congratulations to Jack. I know his family is jacked up right now, pun intended. Also, bye-bye R-Truth. We see over the weekend that Ron Killings, R-Truth, is not going to have his contract renewed there with the WWE. And I just mentioned this when it came to Coach Coleman. So many people on social media talking about R-Truth and how great of a human being he is and how great he was to people. There was a video I watched over the weekend of him celebrating his birthday in the ring with Roman Reigns and Titus O'Neil and a lot of these different guys. And it's he's hilarious. My favorite scene with R-Truth is with Brock Lesnar when he said he was declaring the Royal Rumble and he was acting like he was going to throw Paul Heyman over the rope and not Brock Lesnar. And then he undeclared the Royal Rumble. And it's just Brock Lesnar's cracking up. It's so funny. So funny. But yeah, I think he'll be back in some form or fashion. Just, not renewing his contract right now. Great tennis match. It was only 4 sets yesterday at the French Open. Carlos Alcaraz, the number 2 seed, going against Ben Shelton, another Florida Gator. And what a great display of athleticism and competitiveness and sportsmanship. There was a play where Alcaraz was going to, hit the ball on his backhand, and he threw his racket. And you're not allowed to throw your racket. And he was able to somehow get the point. But right after he was awarded the point, he told the judge, the referee there, that he threw his racket and the point should go to Shelton. And I just thought it was all class, where you can still be competitive and still have some kind of honor and still have sportsmanship. Too many times now we look at guys and say, all right, they're soft, or, they don't deserve to. It's strange, man. It's strange that, that's the case, right? Like, you can still have good sportsmanship and not be weak and still be a badass competitor. And that's what we saw from Carlos Alcaraz. He ended up winning in 4 sets, but you saw how they embraced after. Really, really good stuff. I love seeing great sportsmanship. There's not enough of it. Emotional Elly De La Cruz. He loses his sister. I can't imagine what he was going through. The standout for the Cincinnati Reds. He hits a home run, points to the sky. You're like, oh my gosh, you're blubbering. You're a blubbering mess, and you're not even a Reds fan, but you just, oh my gosh. And just reminded me of D. Gordon hitting the home run after Jose Fernandez passed, and D saying he never hit a ball that far in his life. It's the great thing about sports, man. You can't even script that type of stuff. Scotty Scheffler wins again. I mean, what a beast. This guy's just, he's amazing. He's amazing. Just it just never gets old with him. All right. We're going to end off, unfortunately, on not the greatest note. So Florida, ECU, Coastal Carolina, in the regionals there. And apparently something happened with Florida head coach Kevin O'Sullivan, and he just went off. He went off on the site director and the crew because the game got pushed back. I mean, listen, there's been inclement weather all over the country, but I mean, and you can take a look for yourself. This is Coach O'Sullivan yesterday, and he is just letting this guy have it. Here it is right here. I mean, you tell me if this is a friendly conversation. I mean, he's yelling, and people, there's kids just standing there. I don't quite understand why anybody thinks that they can talk to people like that. This is a guy that's a national championship winning coach. There's people that look up to this man. There's people in our area that are sending their kids to Gainesville to play for him. And I can't disagree with this more. And if you think that it's one of those things where it's not a big deal or you think it's being misinterpreted, here's Coastal Carolina coach Ken Schnall yesterday after the game. And if you had any type of, oh, is this different than what it looks like? Listen to Coach Schnall. You make, you can make your own opinions here.
One last thing I have is I have to say this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I believe in standing up for what's right. And what transpired this morning on our field, another coach disrespected our associate AD, who works as hard as anybody in our entire program. He disrespected our field crew, who are the salt of the earth. These guys would do anything for our program. It's not okay. And this needs to be brought up. Absolutely disrespectful. As a coach, it's our job to mentor young kids. And the way he treated the 2 site reps, the way he treated our associate AD, the way he treated our field crew is absolutely unacceptable. And that's what I'm most disappointed about. This is a national champion coach who thinks he can come in here and try to bully people around. Disappointed. Somebody that a lot of coaches look up to. For him to act that way, really disappointed. He disrespected a Hall of Fame coach who's the site rep here. That's all I got to say.
Woo! Woo! There was some stank on that. Good for you, Coach Schnall. Good for you. You have a fan in me. I don't care if it's justified or not. I don't care if Coach O'Sullivan thinks that he was wronged. You do not treat people like that. You do not bully people in positions like that. How dare you think that just because you're a national championship winning coach, you could speak to somebody like that? Never let other people's actions or emotions put you in a position where you have to act like that. That's hard. Not good. And you see a lot of people coming out, not even like Gators haters coming out and be like, yeah, that's who he is. I've had experiences like that as well. I know a lot of people out there will defend Sully and say he did a lot of good things. Just because you do something like this doesn't mean that every single thing that you do in your coaching tenure is one of a dickhead. But that was a dick move, bro. Dick move, big time. And good on Coach now for standing up for his university and standing up. I mean, that place was rocking. Coastal Carolina is a badass school. National championships, the national champions themselves, right? My dad always told me, treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't do anything to somebody else you wouldn't want done to you. Sully, what if somebody did that to your site director? What if somebody did that to your field crew? What if somebody did that to your son or your brother or your father or your mother? Like, put yourself in their shoes. Be better. It's up to all of us to hold each other accountable when things like this happen. Do I think you should be fired? No. Do I think you should be reprimanded? Yes. Fined, whatever. Yeah. You got to pay the piper in something like this, or you should at least, I hate apologize, but you should have to at least talk about this. I hate apologies. I think apologies are lame, right? Say that you messed up, fine. Have to be able to talk to these people, admit you were wrong, pay the piper in some way. Got no issue with that. But we should all try to be better. Again, like Doug Recher said, treat people the way you want to be treated. I can't stress that enough. All right. that's going to wrap it up for me. What a show today, man. What a show. Feel good about this show today. I felt really good about it. Just the guests that we had. I mean, just all the information we had. Yanni Gourde re-signing with the Lightning, 6-year deal, 2.33 AAV. Anthony Cirelli finishing third in the Selke Trophy. We talked about Chandler Simpson. We talked about Taylor Walls. Just a lot to get into. Tomorrow, Buccaneers' second voluntary OTAs day. I'm going to try to get out there early, go there for like a half hour, and then be able to come back. I want to show some love to our friends at Pewter Report. At 4 o'clock today, Todd Bowles is going to be joining them on their podcast. So if you can go check them out, do me a favor. If you guys can do this for me, see if it works. Go to the podcast at 4 o'clock and be like, I heard about Todd Bowles' interview on the J Recher podcast. I want to see if we could have anybody, and let's see if we can get a bunch of people over there, because I want Scott Reynolds to text me tonight and be like, bro, people told me that they came here because you told them to go here. Let's see if we can get that impact of the J Recher podcast on the Pewter Report podcast, 4 o'clock today. You don't want to miss that. 4 o'clock today. Scott Reynolds, I'm pretty sure Matt Matera with Coach Todd Bowles at 4 o'clock over at Pewter Report. Go check them out, pewterreport.com. Check out their YouTube channel as well. All right, follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Those subscriptions are going up, 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 and I can't appreciate you guys enough. A big thank you to Ian Beckles for joining us, Coach Coleman for joining us, as well as KJ Sales. So proud of that young man. The future is bright for him and everybody here in the Tampa Bay area. Back at noon tomorrow. I love you all. Thank you for the love and support. We'll see you right back here on